So it's the GM Mark III, or just GM3 from Double Zeta, and this is actually a 2011 kit, so it's a little older than some of the other kits I've done on here. And of course, it's red Bandai, which means that it has its uh, price tag. It's 1,500 yen, so it'd be, at the time, it would have been around $15 or so. And now, one thing you've probably noticed is that this is where the head on the other GM came from. So that means the kit is not going to have this head on it because I changed it. I just think that it looks better with the Commander style GM head. We do have, of course, some blurbs on it, and that's pretty cool. Different things it has. It shows everything that it comes with, and then of course it does have some information about it. But unlike the other more recent ones, they don't have any translations. So if you want to pause this and translate it yourself, you can do that now. And then here's some more pictures of it. And then that, which is another blurb about it. Again, you can translate it yourself. If you want to go ahead and pause the video, go ahead. You can do that now. And that's about it when it comes to the box. The actual box art itself is actually pretty good because it shows multiple GM3s, but it shows them in different versions that you can decide to build if you want. You can have it like this, where all of its missile pods are closed up. Or you can do it more like this, where its missile pods are opened and, basically about to fire or are firing in your mind. And then, of course, you could do it like this, where it has none of the pods on it to make it lighter if you prefer that style. You can do any of those if you want. And I think that's it for the box art, so let's go ahead and move on to the kit. Anyways, this is the kit itself. As you can tell, it's pretty colorful, actually. It's got red and like this nice like turquoise blue with, of course, some yellow in there and lots of white. It does have a few decal stickers that I put on. Again, this was an early kit of mine. I did this. This was the last kit I did where I pulled parts off of the runner because one of these caps on the missile pods on the sides, I actually snapped in half when I pulled it off the runner. So I glued it together and then put it on the kit. So yeah, that was kind of my bad, honestly. There's not too many foil stickers. There's some small ones for the missile pods right here in the little camera lenses. And of course, some for the front and back of the head, but granted, those stickers come from the GM and not this kit. And that's pretty much it when it comes to foil stickers. Everything else is a decal, or is just straight up plastic. He is kind of dusty. Again, I have had this guy for a while, and he's been in the back of the shelf for a minute. And that's pretty much it. He does have some decent amount of detailing, like surface detailing, like especially here on the pods, you can see what it's supposed to be like a missile. Of course, like I said, I did pull him off the runner. I didn't use clippers, so he's got a lot of like stress marks, like ripped off stress marks and stuff. So again, this is an earlier kit that I built, so not the best quality. I do a lot better now with my constructions, but this was pretty poor. Anyways, as you can tell, his head, of course, is different from the box. Like I said before, I decided to customize him. I didn't really like that head on this body. I thought it looked too bulky. And this head looks perfect for this kind of suit because this looks like a suit that a leader or a commander would wear into battle, even though it's supposed to be a standard issued suit. So, this thought it looked cooler personally, in my opinion. It's not. What makes it even better though is that it actually doesn't look like it doesn't belong. Like it looks totally fine. Like a lot of times when people create custom kits and they put parts from another kit onto something else, it looks wrong. It doesn't look like it belongs there. And when that kind of stuff happens, it makes the customization look poor, in my opinion. But when you do it something like this and it doesn't necessarily change too much of how it looks, then it's not too big of a deal. Personally, I think that's a better style of customization, doing small changes that look good and don't look like they don't belong there. Um, his articulation is another thing, of course, I have to go over. And it's actually not too bad, but it's about average for the time. Like, it's not spectacular. So it's another average style kit when it comes to its proportions and when it comes to its articulation. It's not anything revolutionary. Um, Now, of course, it does have a decent amount of accessories. This probably has the most accessories, I think, out of everything I've reviewed so far, because the missile pod on the skirts and the missile pods on the shoulders are technically accessories because they don't have to be there. You can choose to build it without it. On top of that, you have 2 extra accessories that go to the missile pods on the shoulders, because as you can tell with this one, you have these that have like these small little dots in there, and those are meant to represent missiles, like it's about to fire its missile pods. Or you can display it with these accessories that have the shutter doors closed, and that way you can have it to where it's not about to fire its missiles. And of course, you can take these pods on the side skirts off or on, and when you have them on, you can put the caps on so that way it looks like it's not about to fire those. Or you can have them off where it looks like he is about to fire them. So it's really, up to you how you want to display him. He's got quite a bit of options just with the missile pods alone. And that's pretty impressive for a GM. Also, he's got, of course, a shield, which is another accessory, and 2 beam sabers, which is pretty rare for GMs because standard issued suits for the early part of the Universal Century tend to only have 1 beam saber. He's also got a more powerful beam rifle in the lore. He's got a more powerful beam rifle here. And honestly, I like the way it looks because it looks kind of like a short FAMAS almost. Maybe that's just how I see it, but that's kind of what it looks like to me. And then, of course, he's got beam saber effect parts just in case you want to use him with a beam saber. And he's got multiple extra hands. He's got another right holding hand for a beam saber. He's got a closed fist for the right, like he's throwing a punch, which is this one right here. Then he's got an open hand right here for expressive poses if you want to do that. And then a closed left hand in case you want to have him throwing a punch with his left hand. He also has an expressive left hand, which is the only other left hand that he has. And then, of course, the right trigger finger hand. So that's an extra accessory you can choose to use or not use. Obviously, I have him using it, but that's because I wanted him to be using the gun. And that's pretty much it for his accessories. Quite a bit, actually, for such a standardized kit, because usually with more standardized kits, they give him the basic loadout, which he technically does have the basic loadout, but because this suit comes with launchers and stuff on the shoulders and side skirts, that adds more to its value when it comes to accessories. And I feel like that's what really makes this kit shine is that yeah, it's from Double Zeta, so it's already gonna be a thicker boy because a lot of the suit designs from that show are thick. Like they're still basic, but they're big. They're bigger in design, and this is clear just with this particular suit here. However, the most important detail when it comes to this suit is that he comes with launchers, and that's basically the selling point for this kit. Is that the launchers is what adds the extra layer of choice with this kit. It's not just sword, shield, and blaster. That's a pretty common standardized loadout of parts. So having more than that, I feel like, is what really makes this GM shine. It's one of my favorite GMs when it comes to look, but as a kit, it's not awful or anything, but it's not one of my favorite GM kits. Um, I also want to do a new ranking system because I realized that the ranking system I was using was a little too similar to Mecha and I don't want to completely copy him. So, trying to find my own, rhythm here, my own groove. So, I feel like if I use a 1 to 10 ranking system would be better. So to give you an idea, 1 is complete trash, 5 would be average, and 10 would be like perfect, like just great, absolutely amazing type, kits. And judging him for his time era and all of his accessories, because his accessories, except for the launchers, are mostly standardized, it's a pretty average score. But with the launchers added, he goes to slightly above average, which would be 6. His articulation's average, so that would be 5. And his surface detailing is pretty limited in most of the flat areas. He has some on the legs and some on the weapons and backpack, and that's about it really. And most of the panel lining or detailing options are pretty limited. So for some people, that's a pretty big negative. I don't think it's a huge negative for me personally. I would say he's slightly below average when it comes to panel lining options. So that's really about it when it comes to that. Altogether, personally, I feel like the kit is about a 5 out of 10. It's an average kit. So all my other kits, I said was a 3 out of 5. They would also be 5 out of 10s because they're all average. They're just overall average kits. Now, of course, because this is a high grade, one of the things that really makes this kit a lot better than some of the other grades is that high grades are more affordable. On average, they cost around $20, and as you can tell from the box, when he first came out, he was 15. So, because of the cost being more suitable, it's overall a better experience because it's just easier. You know what you're going to get. And because it's also a high grade, it's more available. It's easier to find them than other grades. So you have a higher chance of this kit being available at online stores or even in person. So that's always something to keep in mind or keep into consideration that you may or may not have something easily available. I might do a review of a grade, like a real grade or master grade, but the higher the grade, the more expensive it is, the less available it is. So it's slightly harder to find the higher the grade goes. But of course, that doesn't apply to him because he's a high grade. So, just keep that in mind. It's a pretty average kit. It's not terrible. It's not great. Um, but it's a great place to start with your collection. And if you're someone who's new to Gundam and you haven't built too many kits, or even this would be your first one, it's not a bad choice. It definitely has some things that might make you scratch your head a little bit when you're building it, but that's to be expected when you are building your first few kits, because they're not necessarily um, self-explanatory sometimes when you're reading the instructions. But then once you get to a certain point, you realize why they made you do that. You're like, oh, okay, I get it now. But that's more common with higher grades. Not so much with high grades, but like I said, when you're first starting out, it might still do that to you because you're new. You don't understand what you're necessarily doing. So, at the end of the day, rank 5 out of 10. So he's average. And when it comes to recommendation, of course, I definitely recommend this GM. I'm a huge GM guy, and I love the GM Mark III or the GM3, whatever you want to call it. I just think he looks really cool, and I'm a huge fan of Double Zeta, so I feel like this is actually a great kit for someone to start off with. Again, that's my personal opinion. You can take it or not, it's up to you. Anyways, that's it for today, and I'll see you some other time. Peace.